half of the tournament. Where is he on the Okay, let's call this meeting to order. In accordance with State Law 940 CMR 29.10, remote participation, Mr. Mike Knight, our treasurer, and Mr. George O'Hare, our school committee person representing Lowell, will be attending this meeting. This was adopted on April 17, 2014. Mr. O'Hare, you there?
Yes,
Beautiful. Mr. Knight, are you there?
I am.
Great. Okay, if we could have a roll, I'm sorry, if we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if we could have a roll call, please.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Here.
Mr. Tatsias?
Here.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes,
Mr. LeMay? Mr. Bahu?
Here. Okay, Mr. Moore, is anyone signed up for a public appearance?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any school committee communications? Okay, moving right along. Let's hear from Mr. Tom Spironis as our student representative.
All right. Just before I begin tonight, I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to be here this year. Doing the student reports, it has been just amazing to get to know all of you. And with that, let's do it.
Let's do it.
So Skills USA will be attending the National Leadership and Skills Conference from June 20th to the 25th in Atlanta, Georgia, with 11 students and 5 advisors. Representing Greater Lowell are the following students. Sophomore Jasmine Sanchez, Marketing Education, Employment Application Process. Sophomore Riley McCafferty, Engineering, and freshman Nicholas Moraes, Engineering, Urban Search and Rescue, Competition Training through the Robotics Club. Senior Ryan Hughes, Electrical Facilities Management, Senior Ryan Dumont, Carpentry and Carpentry Competition, and Junior Elizabeth Hughes, IT Services, State Office Select, Seniors Malia Duggan, IT Services, Nicholas Geekus, Masonry, and National Voting Delegates, and Seniors Abby Gingras, Trina Trian, and Madison Arpin, National Models of Excellence. Our students will be joined by Skills USA advisor Sharon Cornelier, co-advisor Keila Tassini, and instructors Marianne McKenna, Patrick Couliard, and Eric St. Gelais. Skills USA would like to thank the school committee and administration for their continued support of our programs. We look forward to making you proud in Atlanta. Our summer kickoff carnival-themed dance was a huge success. 200 students enjoyed fried dough, hot dogs, pizza, and ice cream while dancing under the stars, playing carnival games in the cafeteria, and creating 360 souvenir videos. The event was planned by our freshman, sophomore, and junior planning committees, along with student council, and took place on Friday, June 10th from 6 to 10 p.m. Staff and students had a great time, and we look forward to seeing this become an annual event. The Greater Lowell Dance Club, in collaboration with our new competitive dance team, presented a successful spring performance on Tuesday, May 24th. Sprung, a spring spectacular, featured original choreography performed in 2 shows. The evening show was attended by an enthusiastic audience of staff, students, and parents, while the community service student matinee generated $50 to donate to Gorilla Doctors, a nonprofit organization dedicated to saving endangered gorilla species. Our class of 2022 commencement ceremony was held on Friday, June 3rd at the Tsongas Center in Lowell. Our commencement speakers, distinguished graduate Haley Basic and Lowell Mayor Sakari Chow, inspired our students with their experience and wisdom for a successful future. Thank you to our school committee members, faculty, and staff who helped make this year's ceremony a success. And from the athletic department, the Griffin Tennis was once again among the top teams in the CAC this season. Several players finished near the top at the league meet held here at Greater Lowell on May 25th. The Griffins' first ever competitive dance team saw great success in their inaugural season. Several dancers placed highly at the Step Up to Dance competition on May 28th. The track and field team had many team and individual successes during the dual meet season, as well as the postseason and invitational events. The Lady Griffins captured the CAC League title, while the boys finished in second. Both boys and girls lacrosse fielded competitive teams that showed great strides as the year progressed. Both teams also qualified for the MIAA tournament play. Griffin softball had a successful season and will look to build on that success into next year. Boys volleyball once again qualified for both the state vocational and MIAA state tournaments. The Griffins also captured the second league championship in the program history, finishing undefeated in league play. And the baseball team once again was among the top programs in the CAC. The Griffin 9 also qualified for the MIAA tournament. And that is all.
Good job.
Another great job.
Thomas,
Great job.
I, as the chairman, would like to thank you on behalf of this school committee for all the time and effort you put in to let us know what's happening with the student body here. We are very grateful, and we have an award here for you, a certificate of appreciation. So why don't you step on up here? Anybody want to stand up here and take a picture with Tom? Come on, let's come on up.
Thank you so much.
Student representative is much appreciated.
Tom, we want to make sure this is hanging in your room at night.
Yes.
Don't be over sad to your
Put it on
son.
your resume. Put it on your resume.
Yeah.
Who's taking the picture?
Who's taking
Mr.
the
Barton's
picture?
taking the
Miss
picture.
Miss Davis will.
Oh, let him get his phone.
Mrs. Edmonds, get a little closer.
Come on, come on in here, Miss Davis.
Okay, I'll go right here, right here.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you
Thanks
so much.
again.
Thank you so much.
Hey, right
Good
here, buddy.
luck.
Thank you so much. See you around.
All right.
Great work.
Don't be a stranger.
I will.
Yes, amen.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Thomas. If we could have the approval of the minutes for May 19, 2022.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Getchia, seconded by Mr. Lemay. Roll call?
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, if we could have an approval of the warrants, if we could have a motion to waive the reading.
Move to waive.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Moran to waive the reading, second by Mr. Sheehan. Roll call?
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. If I could have a motion to approve $8,481,937.30 for our June expenditures. Motion by Mr. Getchia, second by Mr. Sheehan. Roll call?
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, we have no report of our general counsel, so I will turn this meeting over to our superintendent director, Ms. Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item on my agenda is that I'm happy to inform the committee that Greater Lowell Technical High School has been awarded a Career in Technical Education Partnership Implementation Grant in the amount of $100,000. These funds will be used to plan and implement HVAC as a new vocational opportunity for the After Dark program students. Any questions?
Terrific.
It's
That's
fantastic.
great
Great
news.
opportunity. Next on my agenda is the Cooperative Education Report. The report you were provided in your packets indicate a total of 74 junior students currently participating in co-op at the end of May, representing 14%, but I have always good news to report that to date, there are 87 juniors participating in co-op, and we're up to 16% at the end of the school year, and that continues to rise. So again, thank you to our Cooperative Education Director, Ms. Bezanson, for our work in getting our students out on co-op. The next item on my agenda is a brief update on the health and safety practices and protocols. In regards to summer, the Department of Elementary and Education has informed us that there will no longer be services through the CIC state testing program. If we would want to continue services, we need to support those services on our own. So as a school, we will be continuing symptomatic testing. That would be testing for students and staff that while they are at school, if they become ill with symptoms in regards to COVID-19, that if they provide their consent, we will test them here. So we are going to continue that in the summer, and we are going to continue that for the 2022-23 school year, symptomatic testing. As in regards to the fall, we will also be continuing the testing, as I had just said, and we're going to be distributing test kits, and we're going to be doing that before vacations. Again, that will be at our expense, but we feel that that would be important to continue to promote health and safety here at school. So the symptomatic testing and distributing test kits before vacations are what we plan to do for the upcoming school, through the summer and for the upcoming school year. As far as vaccination clinics, as a school, we'll continue to do those next school year, and we're working to have a clinic at sometime at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall. And that is my update in regards to health and safety. The next item on my agenda, I'd like to ask the Assistant Superintendent Principal and the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment to join us to provide, actually, I'm out of order here. First, Mr. Barton to talk a little bit about out-of-state travel, and then we'll ask Mr. Haas to come up.
Hi, everyone. Good evening.
Good.
My notes here. So the first item for out-of-state travel is for a biology instructor, Elizabeth Stewart Miranda, to attend National Science Teacher Association program in Chicago, Illinois, this summer. The purpose of her visit is to learn, first of all, she's presenting, which I think is a great tribute to her, an opportunity for the school to be recognized nationally, as well as for her to gather some information and some knowledge of how to teach biology for English language learners. As you may recall, we've focused considerably in that area because biology itself is such an unusual foreign language. So Ms. Miranda is going to be attending, or would like to attend, this conference. The total cost, including everything, flight, fees, hotel, taxes, etc., is $1,813.74.
Any questions?
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Getchia. Roll call?
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
So
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, I'd like to ask Mr. Barton to remain and update us on updates to the 22-23 student handbook.
Oh, I apologize. I have 2 more out-of-state travel that I need to describe to you.
Thank you.
I think I gave too long a pause. So I'll just go forward and describe those to you. So the second out-of-state travel is for 5 adults and 14 students to attend a outdoor leadership program in Brattleboro, Vermont. We have attended this before under the direction of Mr. Versalone. I think it's great that teachers are volunteering their time, and the students will learn leadership skills, ropes skills. We have the outdoor project adventure program. We also have our new indoor facility. Not only are those used during physical education classes, but they're also used for athletic purposes. Teams have been using it for team building activities. So total cost of program, materials, lodging, and food for those 14 students. There could be more students, but I think we're at 14. Where it will remain is $9,880. The third out-of-state travel is for Lindsay Ferreira, a science instructor, to attend a project-based learning series in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. includes all lodging and all meal, social hour, evening and afternoon activities. That's $1,670. I support both of those activities for these instructors wholeheartedly.
What was that last number? 1,600?
1600.
$1,670.
Okay. Should we have a motion to approve
So moved.
each one individually?
Second.
Okay. Motion to approve the trip to Brattleboro, Vermont for 5 teachers and 14 students, and possibly some more, up to 24. Roll call. I'm sorry, motion by Mr. Moran, second by Mr. Tatsias. Roll call.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. And then a motion to approve our science teacher to go to a conference. Okay.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Getchia, second by Mr. Sheehan. Roll call.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
You could just proceed, Mr.
Okay,
Blunt, with the
thank you.
student handbook.
Okay, now we're back on track. So the student handbook, the form that you have in front of you is all of the changes, so I'll just walk you through them. So as you know, the calendar is updated every year, the pages obviously change. The fourth part is just an explanation of the back cover of where students can go to get cooperative education, office and work permits, and part-time jobs. We have some additional information in there about the Title I annual parent meeting, which we'll get to the end. As we've done in all of our documents, the Greater Lowell Technical High School policy on harassment and non-discrimination is updated, as well as anything associated with discrimination. There's some additional MCAS changes in here, so the state, now that the schools are becoming more stabilized with our COVID responses and people are becoming healthier, the state is going back to end their moratorium on competency determination. So in a tiered approach, they'll be through the class of 2023 and 2024. The standards in order to meet MCAS are basically reverting back to where they once were. So the standards in terms of the passing score for math and English, as well as science, is really reverting back to where it once was. Along with that are the requirements for scholarships, for the John and Abigail Adams scholarships. So the bulk of the information that you see in here regarding the red is associated with the competency determinations for the classes of 2023, 24, and 25, and 26. So essentially we're out of the moratorium, I guess is the best word, for MCAS, and we're back on track with the requirements for the state.
Does that mean Desi's actually gonna report to work now instead of going from home? I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
So, as I said, the scholarships and that information is really the bulk of that. There's some information in here about dress code change. Instead of using a numeric for shorts, which it once read 3 inches or less in length above the knee, or 3 inches or less in length above the knee, we've decided that it's a better identifier to say no shorter than mid-thigh. So it's a little bit easier to identify, and measurement does not need to be taken into account of that. So mid-thigh is the terminology that we're now using.
Are you on page 8?
I'm on page 9 now.
I was gonna question the dress code,
Yep.
you know, and it says clothing is excessively frayed or torn. You know, I don't know, I know females buy these expensive jeans, I guess.
Yep. They're
Holes already in them?
Yeah, they're all torn,
Yeah.
you know, they're like walking around with not a whole lot on them, is that okay?
Well, I have seen students that have frayed or torn jeans. I don't believe, in my knowledge or experience, that anybody has dress coded them for those infractions in terms of their ripped jeans or jeans with holes in them. I think if they were revealing, I think that would be something to be in consideration. But the ones that I've seen students wearing tend to be more frayed and maybe not necessarily offensive or revealing.
I guess.
So we've had extensive conversations with students this year in regards to dress code, and extensive discussions in making the dress code more equitable for all students. And the recommendations that Mr. Barton has put forth here for the handbook is based on the feedback that we have spent discussing with students this school year.
And it is a trial basis that we said to the student body, and they were in agreement with that. But I think, Committeeman Warren, that it is likely that the conversation comes up next year about dress code again. Thank you. The next part on page 9 are driving and parking rules. Unfortunately, there have been a few circumstances where some students have driven erratically on campus to endanger others. In instances when that happens, generally students are responsive to either the main office or to the SROs, the school resource officers, and are cooperative and understanding, and their parents are cooperative and understanding. There have been a few occasions where, despite speaking to them, despite having progressive discipline implemented, they have continued to drive on campus. So with that in mind, I'm looking for some language here that gives them a tiered approach to consequences in terms of driving on campus or to endanger, such as a written letter home, as well as phone personal communication with the parent, as well as the possibility of long-term suspension. And in the most dire circumstances that I certainly would not take lightly, to have their driving privileges revoked and or, if needed, to have their vehicle towed. That is something that I don't anticipate having to do, but I'm concerned that when students are driving to endanger others, staff members or students, that I think we need to take that with the utmost seriousness.
Absolutely. Tow it. You tow one, everybody's gonna get it.
Somebody does that, the student should be made an example out of.
Mr. Lemay?
In reference to situations such as this, do we act on our own, or do we check with other campuses, what they do? Or how do we come to an assumption of where do we want to go? We put a committee together, or what do you?
This was in consultation with the main office, mainly with me in the main office. To be honest with you, I did not look at the language of other school districts in terms of what their policies.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's necessary, I was just
Right.
wondering if you did.
I'll be honest with you, I did not. I did not look at other school
I
districts.
think driving on school campus is a privilege for the kids.
It is.
No, I do too.
You know, the school could do whatever they want if they're abusing their privilege.
Back in the day, they did. I remember Mr. Murphy, the dean of discipline. If you screwed up, you weren't driving again.
Car
wouldn't
doesn't
let-
come onto campus.
He wouldn't
with
let
you.
your car on.
Yeah.
He wouldn't let your car in the back parking lot.
That
Believe
sounds
me.
like Murphy to me.
Absolutely.
And then fully, you were coming back, see ya.
Yeah.
And again, it's not something that I'm looking to make. I certainly do not take these things lightly, you know, but at the same time, I don't want to be extreme either.
Right, so I think what Mr. Barton is saying, we have a progressive
Yes.
system for this, and I think the added piece would be the next step in progression if and only in
Right.
extreme circumstances.
Exactly. If someone continues to do this and they have no regard for suspension or for communication with parents, then we would likely consider the circumstances. But this is a very, and I think you understand that this is not something that I,
It gives you different
endorse.
tools to work with,
Well, it's
too.
progressive, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
yeah.
I think it's generous.
It might not
If
be.
these kids are abusing right off the bat, they shouldn't be driving on campus, period.
Coupled with that is a progressive policy towards students that are coming in late. If they're driving to campus and they're coming in late, there's a policy where there's a warning, written communication to families and parents, and then additional progressive discipline to try to curb students that are driving to campus late. One of the main focuses next year is to get everyone in class on time. So I think some language associated with a progressive tiered approach to enforce being here on time. And again, driving is a privilege, and if you are to drive, you need to manage your time accordingly to arrive to school on time.
Now, the student handbook is online, they don't get a copy of this.
It is online. Yep.
So, I
And
mean,
there's copies available.
there's certain things that should be, bulleted to say, hey, you gotta pay attention to this.
I
And
think
they're
it's
si-
Or
they sign off on
When you
it.
get a
The first
parking-
warning they get.
When
they're
you get
gonna
a
pay
parking
attention.
permit to park on campus, they should have one of these sheets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
that's
and this, it's signed off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's signed off, so they're aware of these responsibilities. The other circumstance that has occurred that we've been involved in this year is students that have refused to have their person, their belongings, or their vehicle searched. So even with talking to parents, and 90% of the time, a conversation will let students will realize that the seriousness is that they should have their vehicle searched or their personal belongings, backpack, or person searched. Most of the time, people are cooperative with that. Have been some moments of defiance. So, in consultation with the school's attorney, the recommendation that I'm making is to have some language in there that says if a student refuses to be searched, it will be presumed that they have the item being searched for, and discipline will be taken accordingly.
Absolutely.
So, and again, most of the time people are cooperative and they're being searched and they're willing to cooperate, and families particularly are being cooperative. However, there are some circumstances where there's been some out defiance with that, and that has occurred.
Makes sense.
Well, from a lawyer's perspective, it doesn't always make sense, but from a school perspective, in ensuring the safety of the kids right now, I think it's warranted.
Okay, thank you. The other addition here is there is language, and there has been language in the school handbook about video recording of students. And so, for example, if there's a video recording that's either overt, for example, if there's some fight or something and it's videotaped, we take disciplinary action against the students that are videotaping that. If they posted it on social media, we would take an escalated amount of disciplinary action for that. If there's a student that is video recording another student or another teacher that where they are not aware of that, and that is determined, we will take disciplinary action for that. Obviously, we'll investigate that and have conversations with that, determine what's happening. There is no language about audio recording. So I'm looking to add information in here, or a statement in here about audio recording which has occurred. So it states audio recording a staff or student without their knowledge is strictly prohibited and is a criminal offense as well as an infraction that will result in suspension.
Let me just be the devil's advocate for a moment. How about if a student is recording what the teacher is teaching them in a classroom?
I think that's okay, but I think they need to ask permission for that.
Okay.
These typically are things that may not be the most educationally sound things. Thankfully, we have more video, well, I shouldn't say thankfully, but we have more instances of video recording than we do audio recording. But there have been some circumstances this year that audio recordings have occurred where they should not have been recorded without people's permission.
It's understandable. I just had to ask that
Yeah,
question.
no, yeah, it's a good one.
This technology out there, they're gonna use it both ways.
Asking permission versus not asking.
Yeah, ask the permission. And realistically, if
Yeah,
a student
we could-
has the recorder
It's
out,
good that
Yeah.
we're
the
getting on
teacher may
top of
say,
it,
hey,
you know.
you need to ask me. Or what are you doing? I understand.
Yeah, yeah, it's a good question. We're going back to 12 unexcused absences in this is the attendance policy, which was pre-COVID. In addition, we've had some circumstances where students are hanging out together in bathroom stalls. There are instances where they've been vaping in bathroom stalls or doing other things in bathroom stalls. There's no language in the handbook about one person being in a bathroom stall. So there's language in here under restrooms that indicates one person is allowed in a bathroom stall at one time. If more than one person is in a stall, students are subject to being searched and are progressively disciplined for failing to follow this policy.
Is there any time that one student might require some assistance with something in the stall?
I think there have been, but in instances like that, generally a liaison or counselor or teacher is made aware of them.
Right.
And again, I think we take these things with the greatest degree of open-mindedness and try to presume innocence prior to automatically thinking that someone is doing something prohibited.
This is kind of like a private zone.
Mm-hmm. The last part, the additional is that to add some language about the inappropriate behavior of posting things online. The language before simply said Facebook. Most students are not using Facebook these days. They're using Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. We've had a number of instances this year where students are posting things on Snapchat or Instagram about other students that just have escalated the conflicts between them. So we're looking to just add that language and specificity.
How about any and all forms of social media?
It does say et cetera, forums and blogs and things like that, but the recommendation was to add a little bit more specific. And then the breakfast and school lunch program, language for next year is it's free throughout eligible members of the community. It gives some language in here on the school lunch program, the costs, and the process to get that through the business office in Mike Knight.
Did we stop picking up the breakfast? Is that what we're doing?
No,
We're
breakfast
still
and lunch.
continuing, right? So we get free
provided.
breakfast, right? Okay, so
Yep.
that's what I want to make sure. I understand the lunch portion of it.
Yeah, it's provided. There's some information here about medication administration. School nurses are the ones to dispense medication, but now there's some medication updates, policies that we're putting in where a trained nursing supervised unlicensed school personnel trained by the nurses can dispense medication based on specific times with parent approval. The other things that's exciting is we're offering more clubs here. We're offering a art club, a competitive video gaming club, which is probably going to be pretty hot here. These are all good things, and we're continuing to offer the biology club. So we're ramping up on school activities, which I think is fantastic. And then, as I said earlier, there's some information here about parent and guardians and being invited to Title I annual meetings and how often they're held each year. And then the description and mission statement of the Title I program is included here regarding the supportive environment, their expectations in terms of communication, and its relationship to our core values. And that's essentially the changes to the student handbook.
Okay, sounds like we went through it pretty detailed, but does anybody have any other questions?
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Gigi. Roll call.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
George?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
So the next item on the agenda, I'd like to ask our Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment, Mr. Greg Boggs, to join Mr. Barton to present the 22-23 school improvement plan.
So each year we develop a school improvement plan. The school improvement plan is a collaborative effort between parent volunteers, community members, and students and teachers. This year we did not only a collaborative effort with the school council, but also a team led by the superintendent and myself and Mr. Haas, a strategic improvement planning team, which included leadership team members as well as teachers. The mission was to come up with some goals for next year. Some of these goals are continued from last year, which I think is important because we need more than 1 year to meet our goals realistically. But the first goal is to improve student academic and technical achievement. It involves curriculum planning and assessment. The first goal is to focus primarily on project-based learning. Project-based learning is, why don't I let Mr. Haas talk a little bit about the initiative that he's leading with project-based learning.
So project-based learning is going to be a great opportunity for our academic and vocational teachers to really kind of share their strengths and their strategies. It's, working with the vocational teachers who have kind of that long-term stamina where they're providing lessons for students that are going to be in the shop all day long. And then working with PBL Works, who will be our professional development provider. They're going to kind of bring in what they call their gold standard, which is just some different elements in terms of what curriculum instruction should look like. It really focuses a lot on building student agency and building those communication skills where students are going to be working with their peers to revise, critique, and consistently improve their work. And then the goal is, especially as we move towards some level of normalcy, to open the building up so students can actually present their finding. And so a lot of the work through PBL is going to support that. With the teachers initially, and then it'll really support the students as they start to develop this. Our work with PBL is connected to the grant that we received back in March, which is the 2-year opportunity with PBL Works. We'll be able to provide professional development for our staff.
So in addition to that, we applied to be part of this. We were selected as a school. It's quite an honor. I believe we're the first technical high school in Massachusetts to be selected for this, which I think is really quite an honor for all of us. Next week, for 3 days, 35 to 40 teachers are going to be here on site. They're going to have a trainer from Wisconsin come and teach them how to develop projects with kids, which is a natural in the technical programs. I think it builds on a lot of what we do here, but it enhances what we do, which I think is really important. And it's multi throughout the year, so it's not just like a one and done for the summer. They're going to come back in the fall, so they kind of check in throughout the year with the teachers. And then it's a requirement for the teachers to create at least 2 lessons and implement those lessons. So it's rigorous. There's a lot. I attended the first one, or Mr. Haas and I attended the first one in Worcester, and it's steep. You need to really pay attention. You really need to think about what you are doing as far as teaching and learning. And it's a multi-year effort. So these 35 to 40 teachers will do it this year, and then next year we're hoping to have 35 or 40, which I think we will, because the response has been enthusiastic already. So it's a big deal for the school, and it's quite an honor that we were recognized to participate in it. So that's part of that, the strategic improvement. And the next one is literacy coaches and the literacy action team. One thing that's definitely come, just to speak in practical terms about it, we need students doing better presentations. We need students feeling more comfortable in interviews with employers. We need them to feel comfortable answering questions about themselves. We need them to feel comfortable developing and writing a resume. They need to know how to fill out applications that are online for jobs. We just need better resources and more confidence in kids, so when they go out on co-op, they can talk to adults and employers in a professional manner and in a confident manner. So we're looking for the literacy coaches and literacy team to work collaboratively with technical instructors to build that up, so that when kids have the knowledge and skills in their technical programs, they have the language skills and the confidence and to go out and secure and keep that job and keep that employment. Because the feedback we're hearing from employers is the kids really are great, they're polite, they're respectful, and they have knowledge of their technical program, but they need to have better skills in terms of communicating, talking to adults, not being shy, giving full sentences, giving full description. So I think it's just can only enhance the kids that we're turning out here. So that's a major area of focus. Really, I think critical that they know how to really write a really good resume, a cover letter. They can fill out the job application without any grammatical errors or and with enough clarity that shows the knowledge they're gaining here, right? That's really what this is about. So that's an important part. Yep.
Can the students come back to somebody here at the school and ask them to review their resume and their cover letter and maybe get some feedback?
Yeah, we're definitely putting that in motion with this effort to ensure that. So they do that in freshman year. So in a course called Digital Literacy, they get the familiarity with cover letters and resumes and financial literacy. So they do that. But the issue is that when you're a freshman, you don't have a lot to put into it. So we're looking at junior year to be the year where The goal would be, and it's a lofty one, but I think the superintendent has set the bar high, and I definitely think that's important, to have everybody with a resume, or at least knowledge of how to write a resume and a product of a resume. And my thing with that is that it should be a unique one. It shouldn't be one of these formulaic, like, software resumes that you can just pump out. It should be unique in terms of the design, the font, the description, that really represents the uniqueness of the school and the uniqueness of what kids have to offer. That's junior year, and English teachers and the technical teachers and the literacy coach will be working to do that. So, and goal number 2 is to continue, we've been working on this, to continue feedback in terms of tests and projects. Students will take a test, they'll do a project, and the feedback we're getting from the student body, and Mr. Haas and I and Ms. Davis have sat down with a lot of students this year. That's definitely, you'll see that in one of my goals for next year. We're listening to what students have to say, and they're saying that they want more quality feedback in terms of when they do a project or when they take a test. They want to have a little bit more about what they did well and what they didn't do well and what they can do to get better. So one of the strategic objectives for next year is to enhance that with the faculty so that there's a conduit of communication that's happening between the kids, right? That they get something back and they have written communication, but also verbal communication that says what you did right and what you did wrong, right? And how you can grow. And the key thing about that is, which is really remarkable, is a lot of that we knew, right? And Ms. Davis has known that for years, but kids are saying that to us. So if kids are saying that to us, that's definitely something that we need to implement. The other part of this, which is really interesting, well, in my nerdy way, is midterms and finals. We put out a survey about people's thoughts on midterms and finals. So midterms and finals are given in the technical program and the academic program. Mr. Haas sent out a survey asking what people thought of them. Do you want them? Do you not want them? Do you want to change the weighting? And overwhelmingly, among faculty and students, they want to keep them, which I think surprised us. But I think it's a great thing. So that's being kept here, and that will be reviewed for its weightiness and its the quality of what we're asking. Yeah.
What was the alternative to midterms and finals?
We could have reduced the percentage of what they weigh,
Weight?
or we could have modified them, or we could have eliminated them.
It sounds like the students made the right decision.
They did.
That's right.
Yeah. We threw it out there, hey, and they made the right decisions. So what I'm gleaming from all of this is, and which I think is great, is students are taking their education seriously.
Yeah, I
and
was
they have a
just
sort
gonna
of
say the same
they,
thing.
they,
It's almost like they want to know where they're at.
yeah, right. I would say,
Exactly.
and I would say, and I've said this to them, and I've said it to faculty, and I've said it, and Ms. Davis has seen it, Mr. Haas has seen it. The freshman class is taking school very seriously, and they're not shy about their expectations of what they want. And we've talked to a lot of freshmen and a lot of sophomores, and they're taking their expectations in their technical program seriously and their academic program seriously. And the voices that I'm hearing are
And this is what
louder.
they're asking for.
Yeah, they're louder and more articulate than I've ever seen in the
That's
school
good.
I
community.
think they realize what the school has to offer. That has a lot to do with it too. And
Kudos to
how
our
far they
student
can
body.
go with themselves.
Yeah, I think you're right.
You know, I mean, co-op and things that's one thing, but academically, I mean,
Yeah,
the sky's the limit here.
Right.
In my interpretation.
right. I
Yeah,
think
they
so.
really want to learn and grow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unequivocally,
Yeah.
and it's a great thing, really, that
That's
we're seeing.
impressive.
It is, and it's not just a handful; it's a lot
It's-
of kids.
That's good to hear.
It is. It is. The strategic priority number 2 goes along with some of the work that we did last year. If you recall, last year each year we have a summer program, summer enrichment program, where incoming 9th graders are invited to the school and they can participate in a project-based activity and do some community service. We've had that for many, many years here. Under the former position of director of curriculum, I was involved in running that. Now Mr. Haas has taken that over. Last year, we enhanced the leadership opportunities for kids. So we had the faculty recommend students that they thought had leadership potential. And we had about 15 students last year that were identified as student leaders, and they were trained by Miss Monahan, who is and Mr. Versalone, who is a school counselor, and Dean of Students, Mr. Versalone, and they were trained on how to deliver tours to incoming 8th graders, or incoming 9th graders during the freshman welcome day. So these students learned about voice projection, elevator pitch. She did and he did a really remarkable job. So they led tours throughout the campus. We collected all their feedback and looked to continue to grow the program. I'm happy to report that we have over 50 kids that want to do it this year.
Oh,
15 last year, 50 this year. And I'm told, and I think that the benchmark would be, will they show up? And they've filled up all of their paperwork, and they've continued to fill out all of their paperwork, which is a sign of seriousness. So 50 is a pretty number. So the program is growing substantially. We continue to work with them throughout the school year on a program called No Place for Hate, where they did bulletin boards throughout the campus, talked about ensuring a comfortable environment free from bullying, free from harassment. They participated in Back to School Night, where they led tours during Back to School Night, and they did some feedback with new teacher orientation as well. So that program's growing. So that's a continuation of that goal.
In combination with the high five training as
Correct.
well.
Yes.
Those
Thank you for making that
Those
connection.
individuals that are been trained last year, we just asked to go to Vermont to be trained in high five training. We're trying to create more leaders in the building, using those two programs as a stepping stone.
Yeah. And then the last strategic objective is to review the master schedule and the utilization of space throughout the campus. The schedule here is extremely complex, how to create a master schedule for this building. We do an admirable job under the direction of Ms. Martinez, Ms. Encarnacio, Mr. Murphy, and a number of other people. Because of the technical programs, because of their hour requirements, because of all of these different variables, lunch, and just the fact that we're, I think, the 4th or 6th largest high school in Massachusetts, the schedule is a large variable with a lot of complexity to it. One thing that was recommended this year is through NEASC and also through some other sources, was to hire an independent company to review it in terms of, are there opportunities to change it? Are there opportunities to enhance anything within it
That we're missing.
I think it bears a fresh look. I think it bears a fresh examination from a company that's able to do that. So we're looking to contract with a company to review the schedule in terms of, are we able to do anything differently? Are we able to utilize our space more effectively in terms of planning and scheduling? It's just, I think, an opportunity for someone from the outside, similar to what you do with an audit, to look at the health of the schedule and see what the recommendations are. So that's essentially the school improvement plan that I think you can see it's encompassing in all aspects of things.
sounds like a very detailed plan. It seems like there's a lot of work to be had there. Could we have a motion to approve, unless there's any other questions, the school improvement plan?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Moran, seconded by Mr. Gigi. Roll call, please.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchir?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
George?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes?
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Nice job.
Yeah, just like to take a moment to thank Mr. Barton and Mr. Haas for working hard
absolutely.
with the school improvement planning team as well as the school council to develop a very, a good school improvement plan,
Very good.
which hopefully will help to move our students forward. Thank you.
Outstanding work.
And that's the end of my report. I'd just like to take a moment to thank all of you for your support for another successful school year, not an easy school year. Again, new challenges as a result of COVID, but I think working together as a school committee, as a school administration, and with the faculty and staff, we were able to have a good school year with many good things happening for our students. So thank you again to Mr. Barton for his great leadership. to Mr. Haas, to all our administrators and staff, and I want to wish them all a very relaxing and well-deserved summer vacation, and looking forward to seeing everybody back in August. I also want to extend a thank you to our families and our students, and I want to wish them a safe and happy vacation as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Superintendent. Next on the agenda is our report of our business manager. So, Mr. Knight, I will turn this meeting over to you.
Thank you very much. The first item on my agenda is a correction to the warrants that were voted at the May school committee meeting. The April warrant numbers were actually duplicated over onto the May meeting warrant for vote. So we'll look for a vote to correct the vote taken at the May school committee meeting to approve the expenditures of $5,805,324.52.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I'm sorry, motion by Mr. Moran, second by Mr. Sheehan. Roll call to approve the May warrants as adjusted by our school business administrator.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia? Yes. Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
All right, the second item on the agenda is a lengthy list of budget transfers. We were going through end-of-year projections prior to this meeting and working on just cleaning up the accounts. It was a recommendation as part of our audit in previous years. We didn't necessarily move everything exactly as the year ended, so they've asked for that in the future. So I'll have this cleanup as well as another after the fiscal year ends to get things in line so that it meets the expectations of our audit.
Okay, any questions about the transfers?
Motion approved.
Motion to approve the transfers of $886,512.34 by Mr. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Tatsias. People are still reviewing?
No, I'm listening.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
All right, and my final update for today is an update on the building addition feasibility that we have discussed during the budget process. I know we mentioned we were looking at exploring how to expand space in the building and classroom space. So we've hired an architect to start looking at this for us and see if it is possible, if where we thought we might be able to fit a building, it might be possible. And they've come back and they've at least confirmed that where we were thinking might be there might be an ability to add on to the school building off the side of the gym by the basketball court currently. They've given us a few different schematics. They actually indicated that the location might be a favorable one, not only because there was available space there without interrupting too much, but also the hookups for utilities. We can catch the sewer main pretty easily right there, the way it's routed, as well as water. So electricity looks like it should be relatively easy as well. So from all of the does it look possible perspectives, we got a green light so far, so we think it's probably a good idea to put a building committee together and really hone in on what the design would look like, what the space would look like, and how we would go about utilizing.
Building subcommittee.
Cool.
I think we're ready for that.
Okay, that sounds like a great idea. Thank you, Mr. Knight.
Motion to approve?
Do we need a motion to approve? That's
No
fine.
motion.
No motion.
No motion, just an update.
Yep, just great update.
Cool.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much.
much. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
You're welcome.
How's fatherhood going?
It's wonderful. It's wonderful when I can see the baby. I'm locked out right now, but I'll be back in there soon.
Well, thank you so much for your.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, next item under the agenda is our old business. Anyone have any questions about our old business?
Old
Mr.
business,
Giggy?
maybe new business, I don't know. It just, that with what happened in Texas, is there an opportunity in the near future maybe to review our security again here at the building? Because I'm thinking, how far out does our security rings go so that we can get some warning if something like that's gonna happen, if somebody's running across the fields or... And I don't know where that fits.
I think the camera system is really, if you went in that security area, I often do stop in there. The cameras on the screen are pretty, it shows a lot. It shows the parking lot, shows the pool, shows everything.
It's just my
Cameras are
personal
only part of
opinion
it, though.
that we should talk about this in executive session.
Yeah.
Not in public. I don't want to hide anything from the public, but we're talking about our security.
Right.
You don't want to give out all your soft points or your hard points or anything like that at a live meeting. So maybe we could do this at another meeting under
I
executive
was
session.
looking to do it too, especially in view of the fact that what's happened. There was a technical school that had an issue in this state.
I just
The
want
other
to
day.
kind of look at, make sure that we've done everything possible with the
Absolutely.
consultants and so
Yeah.
forth that, that, and plus there's probably some available money out there federally that could be coming available that may assist us with some of these issues. And executive session may be the best place to talk about it, but I think the time is ripe to do it.
Yeah.
Sure. I think it's a point well taken, and we'll definitely put it under new business. Try to develop a subcommittee and have a conversation about it.
All right.
Mr. Getchia.
I was asked about the Athletic Hall of Fame last week at a golf tournament. If we have any plans of trying to revive it, maybe every 3 years. Someone said they actually lead the charge on it if we're willing to go forward with it.
Okay, I think
I'm not hearing you.
The Athletic Hall of Fame. I was asked about it Friday at a golf tournament, and someone had said they'd actually do most of the legwork if we were willing to go back to look at it to do it. So maybe we'll talk about that afterward.
Cool.
Sure. If someone wants to step in and have a conversation with us and work on behalf of our students and the Athletic Hall of Fame, it would be definitely worth something looking at. Okay. Anybody have any ideas under new business? Okay, great. Committee people motions, there are none. Report of subcommittees, there are none. And a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 330A, Section 21A, 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel members. Motion to go into executive session with possibly coming back out to have a vote. Motion by Mr. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Giggy. Roll call.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. O'Hare? Mr. O'Hare?
George?
Maybe.
Next.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, so let's take a short recess and go into executive session. Next, on the agenda is to have a memorandum addendum, MOA, for our Director of Language Acquisition. And as the superintendent has outlined in this agreement.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Sheehan, seconded by Mr. Lemay. Roll call.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
No.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
No.
Mr. Moran?
Yes.
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda, there's actually not on the agenda, I just want to thank, firstly, our staff and our students for, this school year, which was sometimes a little difficult for all of us to sort of move forward and progress with, but it turned out to be a true success, and we have to give thanks to not only our teachers and our students, but also our administrative staff, and mostly Ms. Davis and Mr. Barton. We thank you for all your hard work and your labors during this very difficult time. And we look forward to you manning our school and moving everything forward for us and our students for years to come. So, hopefully so.
Yes, well
Hopefully
said.
so. So with that being the case, thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you.
I would entertain a motion to
I
adjourn.
just got one more thing, Fred.
Oh, sure.
On Monday, Paul and Mr. Moran, a couple years back to Centerville sign, we had the unveiling of the Welcome to Centerville sign that the kids in Coventry and the staff, and
Couldn't make it.
it was unbelievable, and
That
Jill
was
did a great
fantastic.
job, and I'll tell you, I don't know if the kids are gonna go back and plan, I don't know if you.
Yeah,
reach
we're
back
gonna
out.
try to coordinate
But
that process.
it was unbelievable, Paul, it was great, I mean, it came
Yeah,
out
and
beautiful.
I stayed back, and then all of a sudden, the reporter came over to me. I praise the kids, I always do, and even when I was a teacher here, they'd say, "Oh, Mr. Moran did it." I'd say, "No, you did it under my direction." You know what I mean?
Oh, it looks great. It's
All
awesome.
that stuff,
Yeah, I just wanna make sure that the staff and Jill
Yeah.
and Mike and all these guys.
I
get the
mean,
credit. It was
I
great.
if anything, I thought maybe it would have been in town. I was totally shocked when I actually went to visit my sister in the nursing home, and she said, "Oh, she had the newspaper. I didn't even have the newspaper." I said,
Yeah, it was a really good thing that the students in the carpentry program and the painting and design program did
and
for
I
the
did say
community,
that
so
too
we
to the
do
reporter too. I said,
appreciate.
it's also painting and design. I said that it painted design. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the
So we
second
did a
sign.
great job,
Yeah, it was real nice.
A job well done
yes.
by all.
Fantastic product from Greater Lowell.
I'll make the
Thank
motion to
you.
adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Mr. Getchier, seconded by Mr. Sheehan. Roll call.
Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Getchia?
Yes.
Mr. Gigi?
Yes.
Mr. Tatsias?
Yes.
Mr. Moran?
Yes,
Mr. Lemay?
Yes.
Mr. Bahu?
Yes.
Go Celtics.
Miss.